Hi, and welcome to Elements and Principles of Design. We'll discuss form, theme, and style. Here's a look at what we'll cover. The basic elements of design and how to communicate those elements to your clients. How to apply the principles of design to enhance your plan, like using color to visually enlarge a design space.
The information for this course comes from the PRL Kitchen and Bath Design's Principles, Elements, Form, and Style. We'll start with Chapter 1, which includes a brief history of kitchen and bathroom design. Back in the early days of American history, kitchens were separate from the home because of the fear of fires. And in the southern part of the United States, another concern was the heat in a kitchen. So it wasn't until the end of World War II that manufacturers started addressing the aesthetic concerns of the kitchen. Built-in appliances and fixtures started showing up in the late 50s and 60s, and the kitchen began to take on a life of its own in the 1970s, when the great room was introduced. As the kitchen expanded into other areas of the home, theme styling became popular, and many people paid attention to making the kitchen a warm and inviting space. By the year 2000, the outdoor kitchen was making an appearance in upscale homes, and today's designers focus on creating function as well as fashion in aesthetically pleasing spaces. Up until the late 1800s, toilet facilities were located in an outbuilding. Many homes, however, did have some space to allow for bathing. Now, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, indoor plumbing made an appearance in luxury homes. And it wasn't until the 1920s, though, that codes required indoor plumbing in new construction. During the late 20s and 30s, both Hollywood and fixture manufacturers suggested the potential beauty of bathrooms. In the next few years, color exploded into the bath space, and today the bathroom is no longer a utilitarian space, and many bathrooms are designed to be used by more than one person at a time. The next chapter goes over the basics of design and creating custom designs.
A good design will tie the elements of the kitchen and bath together through a unified look, and it's a look that should last for years. When creating a design for your client, you should always pay attention to the client information, budget range, time frame, and who the key decision makers are.
The best designers always start by listening to the wants and needs of their clients. A designer can gain a lot of information by observing the style of the home and the contents in it. The NKBA Kitchen and Bath Design Survey forms will help you during the information gathering process.
It's time to move on to the 8 elements of design in Chapter 3. We'll review each one of the 8 elements of design individually, along with examples of each in its application.
Proper use of lines in your kitchen or bath project can accomplish many things. Shorter walls can look longer, low ceilings can appear higher, and a sense of excitement can be added to an otherwise dull space. The horizontal line is the most stable of all line forms. The eye travels along the horizontal line, visually widening the area or object that's being viewed. Now notice all the contrasting horizontal lines in this kitchen. Each one of these lines is helping to expand the space. An accent tile strip can help a short wall in a kitchen look a little longer, as well as the horizontal frame of a mirror in a bathroom. A vertical line carries the eye upward and adds visual height to a space. The infinite variety of curved lines makes them useful in expressing both contemporary and traditional movements and feelings. Diagonal lines are often dramatic. They force the eye in either a predominantly vertical or horizontal direction, or both if zigzag, as in a chevron or herringbone pattern. As these lines start combining, another element of design is created: shape. Rectangles are two-dimensional shapes formed by connecting 4 lines of 2 different lengths together, forming 90-degree angles. Rectangular shapes are easy shapes for most people to relate to. They're often used in kitchens and baths in the form of appliances, fixtures, cabinetry, and even doors and drawers. In a square, all sides are equal. There's little movement because of the sameness and regularity, and this can lead to an uninteresting room, especially if there's too many square shapes of the same size. The triangle is the most stable of the angle shapes when the base is at the bottom of the elevation or shape. A triangle is least stable when the narrowest part is at the bottom, as illustrated in the table leg in the kitchen to the left. A curve usually expands space by allowing the eye to move continuously through its length. A curved shape often dominates over a square or rectangular one because of the movement that's created. Better designs are created when you combine both lines and shapes. Why would you use the NKBA Kitchen Design and NKBA Bath Design forms? Is it A, documenting design information about the space as well as the client's tastes and preferences? B, documenting the dimensions of the space? C, documenting the layout of the cabinetry? The answer is A. The NKBA Kitchen and Bath Design Forms can be used to document home construction issues, client information, and personalized tastes and styles. For more on this subject, we've got our new host, Mike Calandrillo.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name's Mike and I'll be guiding you through these next few modules. In this course, we'll start with another element of design, pattern. The 5 basic pattern preferences are structural, naturalistic, stylized, geometric, and abstract. Structural pattern allows the basic structure and the materials of the product or space to determine the form of the design, generally without any applied ornamentation. Clients who prefer a simple, uncluttered, and natural presentation of materials, as well as contemporary design styles, often choose structural design. Naturalistic pattern represents subject matter drawn from nature, such as flowers, leaves, fruits, animals, and landscapes. The motif is as realistic as possible, so these natural elements are readily identifiable. Stylized pattern is drawn from recognized natural sources, but the pattern makes no pretense as actually representing a specific object or source. The themes used can be simplified, exaggerated, rearranged, or distorted to achieve the purpose of the design. Notice the backsplash area in the cooking center and the bathtub surround in the bathroom example. A geometric pattern follows mathematically derived and predictable formulas. This type of pattern works well when colors or shapes of the same naturalistic materials are also combined. Eclectic and modern kitchens and bathrooms, which typically have little applied ornamentation, offer showcase geometric patterns. An abstract pattern typically is based on some geometric form, but introduces an element of impressionism and artistic freedom deriving from the original shape. The shapes and patterns are less rigid, regular, and formal than the traditional concept of geometric design, and usually are not recognizable as any particular object or design. It's not unusual in today's interior design to combine several patterns in one space. Many of these combinations are extremely successful, while others can be incompatible. To successfully plan kitchens or bathrooms, it's critical to understand the relationship between the individual form of an object and the overall space or room it occupies. The form of an object is determined by its structure, size, apparent weight, and ornamentation. One method used by designers to emphasize specific forms in a room is to contrast the heights of vertical elements throughout the space. This can be accomplished in 3 ways. The pyramid form places the tallest vertical element in the center, while adjacent elements grow smaller in descending order. With an H form, taller elements are placed at each end of a lower form, a run of cabinets or a window as an example. This forms a symmetrically balanced H shape on the wall elevation. A stepladder form is accomplished when the tallest element appears at one or both ends of the wall elevation, with all other elements growing progressively smaller. Texture is defined as the roughness or smoothness of a surface, and it is noted either visually or by touch. There are 2 types of texture, actual or tactile, and visual. To show you how these design elements are brought to life in a kitchen, we now turn to Rachel Kopchak, who's with design expert Jeanette Steeves.
We are now going to talk about the basic principles and elements of design in relation to a kitchen, which is where we are now with Jeanette Steeves. Jeanette, there are a couple of different categories to focus on. And let's start with the shape of the kitchen. How does that all come together?
The shapes are specifically a U shape where the kitchen is cut off from the rest of the house so that nobody's walking through it, basically. A G shape, which means that you have a bar probably coming out into the opening. That makes it a G rather than a U. There is a C shape, which is just opening all that up and no bar is involved.
Now, we also have to talk about the different textures in a kitchen.
Yes.
And we've got one here.
This is marble, but we have marble, we have granite, we have soapstone, very beautiful texture, very different texture from the others. The others are mostly smooth, but the most popular finish right now is called honed.
And what is that?
It's not reflective. And soapstone has never had a reflective surface, so it resembles the soapstone that we've had for years.
Very interesting. And another texture would then be what you have for your appliances and your fixtures.
Yes.
You can do stainless steel. What are some of the other ones that people choose?
They're primarily today they're variations on stainless steel. There's the black stainless, which is very popular. It's a deeper gray, really. It's not pure black, but it's a difference. It does make a difference. Now, anytime you're going to put dark colors, and we're going to talk about colors in just a minute, but anytime you're going to use deep, intense colors in your space, you have to consider lighting. The lighting has to be brought up because those colors are going to absorb that light.
You mentioned colors, so let's just go right into colors. How do you match colors? What colors do you choose?
Well, it's a matter of putting the things together. You have to have an idea of what the end picture is going to be. You can't make these decisions in an isolated way or an independent way. You have to be thinking of what else is going to be in the room. We want to be aware of everything that's going to go on in the room, not just one thing isolated at a time. Because when we choose the texture and the color for the countertop, we know it's going to be seen with the cupboards themselves, the cabinets, and everything's going to be seen with the flooring, which is a pattern. So we have to be able to visualize it all together. That's why interior designers and kitchen and bath designers do renderings of the spaces they're going to propose for their client, so the client can get an idea of the way these things all work together. Designers generally have a pretty good ability to visualize it in their heads, but we have to communicate that to the client.
Oh, and one of the other textures we forgot to mention would be any sort of tile or backsplash that you would see in a kitchen is another thing to consider.
There's also stainless. We do have stainless backsplashes and stainless tiles as well. So you can get a lot of different looks with your backsplash.
And talking about tiles, this is a tile pattern, which brings us to our other category that we need to talk about, which are how do you incorporate all the correct patterns in your kitchen?
Well, scale is a big part of that, proportion. You can use more than one pattern in a kitchen, but it has to be very seriously coordinated. They have to be seriously coordinated, and you have to have an idea of what they're going to, how they're going to work together.
Right.
I have a couple of pieces that are not in the room right now, but are pretty much the same pattern, but in a smaller scale, and they work very well.
And we've also got another different texture on the ceiling in here.
Yes, we do. Well, when I began to think about the ceiling in this room, I knew I wanted to get more volumetric space into the area, and I didn't want it to be drywall. The drywall is just a little boring to me. So I began to look at the options and came across this pine, tongue and groove pine with a beveled edge, which gives it a really nice detail. I thought that would be very good. I have also seen people using, or designers using flooring material that looks like wood. It's a faux wood.
The next chapter addresses the 6 principles of design: balance, rhythm, scale, proportion, emphasis, and harmony. Let's go over each. There are 3 types of balance. Symmetrical is a more formal type of balance, while asymmetrical is more informal. Radial is the least common type of balance found in kitchen and bath projects. Let's take a look at some examples of these 3 types of balance. Symmetrical balance occurs when 2 or a majority of objects or elements of the room are exactly the same on either side of an imaginary center line, often identified as a mirror image of one another. Symmetrical balance is generally considered more formal in a design. In this illustration, notice the tall cabinets on each side of the base and wall cabinet arrangement. When unequal elements attract equal attention because of their placement, the resulting equilibrium is called asymmetrical or informal balance. The darker cabinets on the right in this photograph are smaller in size, but appear to offset the larger grouping of lighter cabinets on the left. Here's another example of asymmetrical balance. A third type of balance is created when equal or nearly equal objects attract equal attention as they radiate out from a center axis in either a circle or a center of one. You're less likely to find radial balance in kitchens and bath projects compared with projects displaying symmetrical and asymmetrical balance. As we focus on the area over the sink, we see an example of radial balance. Then, as our eye moves further away from the sink, the dark tapestry on the right appears to be equal in weight to the cabinetry on the left. Rhythm is another principle of design and can be obtained in three major ways. The continuity or rhythm within the design is the glue that holds the dissimilar elements together, allowing the eye to move smoothly around the space. Repetition is created when one or more design elements, such as line, shapes, forms, colors, textures, or patterns are repeated. The viewer's eye will follow the repeated element around the space. The selected repeating of usually two motifs or objects pulls and holds the design together by providing a logical step, moving the eye from one element to the next. With progression or gradation, a motif, design, or shape progresses through a series of usually gradual, intermittent steps to carry the eye from one end of the scale to the other, generally from small to large or vice versa. Because they're so closely related, scale and proportion are often confused by designers and clients alike. To start, both principles involve relationships. Scale deals with size relationships or objects within an entire space, while proportion deals with space division relationships generally within a specific object or area like a wall elevation. The next principle of design involves the overall center of interest in the room. The focal point in the design is carefully crafted so the viewer's eye is drawn to it easily, usually immediately upon entering the space. There are two types of emphasis. Area emphasis pulls the viewer's attention to an area in the kitchen or bath space. The design can have more than one focal point. The designer can also create emphasis by allowing the surface selections or the specific style of the space to dominate the room. Harmony or unity is the ultimate goal of any designer, the creation of a cohesive space that both functions well and is aesthetically pleasing. A good example of harmony is this NKBA award-winning kitchen design.
The information in these last three chapters is a bit too much to fit into this course, so we expect you to review the material carefully when preparing for the AKBD exam, or at least used as a resource when working with your clients.
Let's recap what you just learned. You can now discuss the elements and principles of design with your clients and use them to design the perfect kitchen and bath. You can do this by applying the principles of design to enhance your plans and using color effectively to enhance a space. Now up next, we'll be covering ventilation, specifically the basic requirements for kitchen and bath venting.
The information included in this course and each of the 150 questions on the AKBD exam are drawn from the NKBA Professional Resource Library volumes. It is highly recommended to study the books prior to sitting for the exam. The books, as well as a study guide, exam prep flashcards, and a practice exam are available for purchase in the NKBA online store. The Professional Resource Library books and the NKBA Kitchen and Bathroom Planning Guidelines are also available in ebook format at Wiley.com and other online retailers.